Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to be making a winter fox and kind of practicing making a foreground and a background and also a little bit of shading to create some value. And we're going to start off by drawing our fox. And I am going to draw with a Sharpie, but if you would like to draw with pencil first and then outline it with a black crayon or a Sharpie or whatever you have, you can do that too. So I'll start close to the top of the page, but I'm going to draw the top of the fox's head, not including the ears. So I want to leave space up there for the ears. And I'm going to draw kind of a wide curved line. I don't want to go all the way to the edges because I want to leave some background space. Then I'm going to draw a similar line curving under, kind of like a football shape to complete the head. Now, inside of this space, we're going to draw the face. I want to start from the corner and draw a line that curves over and then down to the center of this shape. And I'm going to repeat that step on the other side. Curve over and down to the middle. Now, where these lines kind of meet in the middle is where we're going to draw the nose. So I'm going to draw a circle, and my circle is going to overlap some of the other shapes, and that's okay because I'm going to fill in this circle, except for I want to leave one little white circle somewhere for a highlight so it looks shiny. So I'll just draw a small circle in there and plan on leaving that white, and I'll fill in everything else around it. There's my nose. So next I'm going to draw the eyes. I'm going to make my fox look like he's kind of a sleepy or she's a sleepy fox. So I'm going to draw curved lines right inside these two shapes on the right and left. If you'd like to add eyelashes, you can. I'm going to add eyelashes to my fox because I think it makes it look really nice. And it's just a little good extra little detail. Next, I'm going to draw two large ears, and they're going to be shaped like triangles, but kind of curved triangles. So they're going to kind of curve into a peak, and these can go pretty close to the top. Okay, inside of those two shapes, I'm going to draw smaller triangles. Kind of draw the inside of the ear there. Next, I'm going to draw the fox's body, and I'm going to make the tail kind of wrap around in front. So I'm not going to draw the bottom of the legs. I'm just going to draw two lines coming down. I want to start kind of below where the eye is and draw a line that kind of curves out and down just a little, about halfway down the page. Then I'm going to draw the top of the tail. So I'm going to start here on the side of the body and draw a line that curves under and then over, and then kind of goes past the body and down. So kind of like an S line. Under, over, and then out and down. Now, if this line doesn't quite touch, you can kind of bring it over. Now, for the rest of the tail, I'm going to draw a line that starts in that same spot, curves out, but then follows the same path until it makes a tip here. So I'm going to curve out from the side here and down. I'm going to curve up and make that S line. And then here, before I get to the edge, I want my tail to end in a point. So I'm going to make this line follow the same path, but then I'm going to connect them into a point here. So I might need to bring my top line down a little bit. And then here near the tip of the tail, I'm going to draw kind of a zigzag line. I'm also going to draw two zigzag lines here down the side of the body. And that will separate the part of my fox that has white fur from the part that has the black fur. So we've got the tail going in front of the legs. We don't need to draw those. Now I'm going to draw, just for a little added detail down here, a couple of footprints. So it looks like my fox kind of walked into this spot. So I'm going to start with a large circle, kind of close to the bottom right side of my page. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it in. And above that, I'm going to add 4 smaller circles. Then I'm going to kind of move up and in a little bit here and draw another circle with 4 circles on top. And then I'm going to kind of go around my fox here, and I'm going to start making the footprints get a little smaller. And they might even kind of disappear under my fox. Like my fox walked around and then sat down and kind of covered up some of the tracks. Next, I'm going to add my background. So kind of near the middle of my page, I'm going to add a horizon line. Horizon line separates the ground from the sky. So I'm going to make my horizon line curve a little bit so it looks like the ground is kind of like on a hill or something. And then I'm going to be drawing in some winter trees in the background. Now, these trees are going to start as with a trunk that kind of touches the horizon line here. And I'm going to come about halfway up to the top there and make my lines kind of get a little closer together like a tree trunk would. But then I'm going to make them branch out. So I'm going to make one line go this way and one line go this way, kind of like a Y. Now, in between my Y, I need to add the tops of the branches. So this is going to look kind of like a V. Now, I can repeat this step where I made the lines kind of create a Y at the ends of my two branches here. So I can make them kind of go out away from each other and then add that V shape. And I want to kind of work on making my branches get smaller as we get closer to the top. So those lines will get really small up here and kind of come to a point. Now, I want to color my tree black because we're going to make this look like kind of a nighttime picture. And so we'll just see the shadows of the tree. Now, you don't have to color this with Sharpie. And especially if you don't have a Sharpie or you're not allowed to use a Sharpie at home, you can do all of this with black crayon. It will work just as well. Now I want to add some more trees in to my artwork here. So I'm going to add one to this side. And you'll notice that whenever I draw kind of where my fox is, I pick up my marker and I go around. I'm going to add my V here because I don't want my tree to look like it's in front of my fox because it's in the background. It's farther away. And you can even add extra branches onto your tree if you feel like it needs extra branch here and there to fill up that space. Now I could keep going and add more trees, especially if my first trees weren't very big. And I wanted to make sure that I filled up that background space. I want to leave a little space back there because we are going to add some color. All right. So on most of this, we're going to color with crayon. If you don't have crayons, you could use colored pencils or markers. And then we'll be adding a little bit of marker into the background, which also, if you don't have markers, you could just use crayons on that part too. I'm going to start with orange because I want to color the parts of my fox that are supposed to be orange, starting with this top shape on his face. And I'm just going to color it in. Now, when I'm coloring, I usually color my edges first. And that always helps me stay in the lines. If I color from the middle out, it's a lot harder to stay in the line. If you do your edges first, you have a little room there to kind of fill in without accidentally going out. Now I'm going to color the top shape, the big shape on my ears, but I'm going to leave the little triangle white because I am going to fill that in with black. But I'm going to use a black crayon. I'm also going to color the two outer shapes on the body here. So from the side of the body to the zigzag. And if I'm going too fast for you, which I probably am, remember you can pause this video, catch up, and then start it again when you're ready. And then I'm going to color the largest shape on the tail. So from the end here to the zigzags. I want to make sure I fill it all the way in. I'm not leaving a bunch of space showing or my white paper showing through a lot. All right, so for this next part, I'm going to add some shadows to give my my fox a little bit of depth and make it look a little more realistic. So for this, I need a gray crayon. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a shadow kind of under my fox's tail here, so it looks like he's really sitting on the ground. And to do that, I want to make my gray crayon really dark right under his body. So I started on the side of the tail here, and I'm just coloring. It doesn't have to be like a straight edge here. I'm just kind of coloring back and forth to create this dark shadow against the bottom of the tail. I'm going to stop at the tip here. And I'm making it dark by pushing hard. So now as I get further away, I'm going to get lighter. So now I'm kind of pushing medium, and I can color right over those footprints. I'm not worried about those. Those are black. And then finally, a light shadow. This dark, medium, and light, how it fades makes it look more like a real shadow, like there's kind of some shape and sitting in the snow here. Now I'm going to add a little bit of shadow to the bottom of his tail here too, but you'll see I'm starting with kind of a medium value and then adding a little bit of a light value. I don't want to color the whole tip gray. I don't want the tail to look gray. I just want it to have a little bit of a shadow. I'm going to do the same thing along these edges at the top of the face here. Just going to add a kind of a medium shadow here and then a light shadow. And my light shadow kind of just fades into the white paper. It's very light. This just makes the face look a little bit more 3D, like there's a shadow shining maybe from the moonlight, which we'll add here in a minute. I'm also going to add a little shadow along the zigzags here. And also a really light shadow under the nose and head here. Now, I'm going to add a few more shadows up here on the top of the snow, but what I'm going to do is add a shadow all along the edge, just kind of like we did here on the tail, just a shadow on the edge, kind of coloring medium and then lighter. And then I'm going to add some cast shadows from the trees. So it looks like the trees have a shadow going this way. So to do that, I'm going to start really dark against the trunk of the tree. And I'm going to come out diagonal, but just color horizontal back and forth and make a diagonal line that kind of comes out from the tree. And then do the same thing on this side. Now on this side, it's going to disappear behind my fox. On that side, it kind of went off the edge. Now, if you have more trees, you'll want to add a shadow for each tree. So now all of our shading is complete. I'm going to use a black crayon to color the insides of the ears. You could use your Sharpie. I'm going to use a crayon. And then the last thing we're going to do is add color to our background, to the sky. So just from the horizon line up. Now, you could use paint for this. If you have watercolors at home, that would be great to use. But what I'm going to use is a blue crayon and then a cup of water with a paintbrush. So if you don't have those things ready, you can pause the video, get them ready. Otherwise, we'll get started. So what I want is to leave a moon right here. I want to leave a round moon. So I'm going to start coloring at the bottom of my page with my blue marker. And I want to color from the edge of my horizon line kind of up. But I'm going to create kind of a curved shape here. So you can see I'm coloring kind of high on this side, and I can even go kind of like up to here. And then I'm coloring kind of making that line go diagonal down to the edge of the fox. And I want to fill all of that in, all the way in. And do the same thing on the other side. I like to get my edges in there first. And I come up to about the same spot on the other side and then kind of color down to the edge of the fox. And I'm filling all of that in. Okay, see how it kind of creates a round shape. Now, if you don't have a round shape there, you can kind of color in a little more, make it round. Now I'm going to continue. I'm going to imagine that there's a circle here and it's going to go on. So up the side here, I'm going to color a little more and then start to curve in at the top. just a little, to kind of create that circle shape. There we go. And I'm going to do a little bit on the side too, just kind of around the corners. Now, I'm going to leave this kind of round shape here white for now. So what I'm going to do to make it look like the moon is kind of shining is I want this blue here where I colored to stay dark, but I want it to kind of gradually get lighter and then just leave a white circle here. So I can take my wet paintbrush and just kind of pull that blue marker in from the edges. So you'll want to start kind of on the marker and push the color in towards where our moon is going to be here. Now I want to be careful not to get paint or marker on my fox. So I'm going to kind of push that marker in. Same thing on this side. And again, if you have watercolor paints at home and you want to just use paint, you can definitely use paint for this. You would just start with the paint on the outside and then add more water as you get to the middle. Now what I'm going to do here is kind of paint the edge. This is just the leftover marker that's on my brush that I'm kind of painting that circle with. And then I'm going to keep kind of blending that light blue, that marker, to the edge of the circle. You could also sketch in your circle with pencil really lightly or something. So there I've got my moon shining in the middle, and then it kind of gradually fades from light to dark. And now my winter fox is complete.